Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Harvey Levin here.
Babcock here.
Courtney here.
Derek here.
We're going to start with Whoopi Goldberg. I got to tell you, I am having such trouble with this. First of all, I'm Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
Secondly, I think what she said was ignorant, and I think what she said was even hurtful to some people in the Jewish community.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
It is.
Well, they
No,
consider
it's
Jews
about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about.
But it's about white supremacy. It's
Well,
about
but
going
it's
after
not- it's
Jews
not about
and
ideal race.
gypsies and
But these are two
Romans.
white groups of people.
Well, they
How do
go
we
after black
They
people
didn't see
too.
them as white.
And they
But
went
you're
after
missing the
homosexuals.
point. You're
Yeah.
missing the point.
Yeah.
The minute you turn it into race, it goes down this alley. Let's talk about it for what it is. It's how people treat each other. It's a problem. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, because black, white, Jews, everybody eats each other.
That said, how on earth did they suspend Whoopi Goldberg for this? Let me just make
What
my
are you saying, Harv?
let me just make my point.
Go ahead.
Whoopi Goldberg said from her experience, she always viewed race as a matter of color. That's just not true. And I think she learned from that because she apologized for that. What she said was wrong, but she didn't say it out of hate. She said it out of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
She made a mistake and she corrected it. So here you have,
And then went on Stephen Colbert's show and doubled down. But go on.
but I get it, but that's her perception is, and I
But
disagree.
it's wrong, Harv.
It is wrong.
But you've got to.
People are getting fired for like everything now. Like the company had to do something. I feel like they were also just felt like they had to like take a stance and suspend her.
But look,
'Cause
Whoopi Goldberg.
she's also getting paid still.
Listen to what Harvey's saying. Like, it didn't come from a place of malice, right? What came from was a place of ignorance, a
Yeah.
true place of ignorance. She was wrong, but that used to matter. The context of how something was
Sure.
said used to matter, and now
Yeah, it still
she's-
should.
What is Whoopi Goldberg going to learn by sitting in a corner for 2 weeks in a dark room? She's not going to reflect. Whoopi Goldberg's led a
And
very
by the way,
public life.
and we should- and
we know who
let's-
Whoopi
sure,
Goldberg
and
is.
understood.
and
She's not a
let's-
hate monger.
Let's be honest right now that this statement from ABC that they're giving her 2 weeks off to reflect, no, they're giving her 2 weeks off to punish her, and they just didn't want to use the word punishment, even though that's exactly what this is. Because look, they hire people on an opinion show who are fiercely opinionated and then put it on live TV just to make it a high wire act. And then they say something and they get punished, and it's not out of malice. And Whoopi Goldberg has been a supporter of the Jewish community for a long time.
So then how didn't she know?
Didn't she say something like it's white people beating up or taking on white people, something like that?
Yeah,
too?
she did. That's the way she viewed it, and she's wrong. Now, do you?
But Harv,
I know, but-
you're describing.
How has she never had those conversations before through like her
Can I tell you
entire
something,
life?
guys?
It's so weird.
When I was in law school, there was a classmate of mine who would say to me a couple of times, I Jewed somebody down.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally said to him, I said, that's a really bad term. And it's anti-Semitic. And
Right.
he was like, I didn't know. And,
And
I
I
said,
get-
and I said, but it is.
Right.
And he understood it, and that was it.
But
and
he was
moved on.
in his,
Here's
but he
the
was
point
in
is,
his,
he
but
was
he was in
Harvey's
his
friend.
20s, and he was in his 20s then. Whoopi's like in her 60s. You think that by now she would have had those conversations, that it would have like
So
been
you-
knowledge.
so everybody knows everything.
But
when they're
Harv,
saying
No, but I feel like
the bottom
Whoopi
line
is
is
on
No,
a-
okay. We're all agreeing that what she said was wrong. And
Right.
ignorant.
Yes.
We're
Right.
all,
We're in heated
yes.
agreement.
We're in heated agreement.
Yes. The bottom line is, if she had not gone on the Colbert Show and doubled down after she found out it wasn't true, then she would not have gotten suspended. That's the bottom line, Harv. Your argument doesn't work because
I
she
don't
knew
thi-
at that point.
I
That's
don't
why
think
your
that's
argument
right.
falls apart.
Look, that was not a good move. I agree, but Whoopi Goldberg is not
So
going
you
to
say
learn
something
anything.
offensive, Derek. I tell you it's wrong. You apologize, and then you go and you say it again.
I think Whoopi
The
Goldberg
ignorant,
was.
you can't plead ignorance anymore.
Well, I think she was laboring under a misimpression for a very long time. She's not going to immediately dart away from it. She did apologize, though,
Sure.
which you have to
Yeah.
acknowledge.
No,
she
she
went
did.
on
She did.
Colbert, and it's clear she doesn't see this issue in the way that most people see this issue.
Right.
And I think that's a problem. But I don't think putting Whoopi Goldberg in the corner with a dunce cap on is going to
Sure,
solve
but
that
I don't
problem.
think that's
and I
the
also
answer
don't think she
anytime.
Well, no, but that's the point. That's what we're
Right.
talking about.
No, I get it.
I mean, we all agree.
Right. No,
what
of
she
course,
said
right,
is
of course.
wrong.
And right.
Isn't Joy
suspension does
Behar
nothing.
Jewish?
Huh?
Isn't Joy Jewish?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't like push back on her right then and there.
She had a bit of a reaction.
But, like,
Anna Navarro actually did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
just like so.
It's hard in that moment though too.
No, have you ever watched The View? That's what they do. They
Not
fight
much.
intensely.
Although Whoopi's the leader of the show, so some are
And the other
intimidated.
thing
She's
is,
the new Barbara Walters.
You can't deconstruct this like, okay, somebody should have said it's live television.
Right. It's hard in that moment. You know, hindsight's 20/20.
And look, we all agree that the statement was wrong
Yes,
and
absolutely.
hurtful.
Absolutely.
But I do think the place it comes from should matter.
Yes,
No, I do
Whoopi
too.
Goldberg has been a public person for a very long time.
Yeah.
She's earned the benefit of the doubt, guys. She's not, Louis Farrakhan. If
Right.
someone like that says
Right.
it, you would take that context into
Understood.
account. But the context matters, doesn't it? The
I think
intentionality matters.
I think what's
I
going
agree
to
with
be
that.
what's going to be interesting is what's going to happen. What's going to happen on these live opinion shows now? Because okay,
Right.
so
But everyone-
the talk fired Sharon Osbourne,
Right.
and by the way, the talk fired Sharon Osbourne because she said I support Piers Morgan,
Right. Who was her longtime friend.
who was her longtime friend, and Piers Morgan had made a comment about Meghan Markle saying he didn't believe that she was suffering from mental health problems.
Right.
I completely disagree with Piers Morgan on that because I believe that she was having those problems, those issues. But Sharon Osbourne had a right, I think, to say, I believe it, I don't believe it. I mean, why does she not have that right? Now, it's true that they said they did an investigation later and they found whatever, but they suspended her for saying, I support Piers Morgan.
That's right. And we talk about in academic circles chilling free speech. You're going to see the
Right.
consequences of this.
Where's
This is not
the-
an academic concept. You will
Derek,
see people pull
Derek.
their punches.
Derek, we are seeing it.
Right. It's
Yeah.
happened already.
We are already seeing it.
And that anxiety exists throughout the law. You don't want to chill
Yeah.
free speech. You're going to see the
But
consequences. of
I
doing
think
it.
it's starting to turn though. I think people are.
I don't
done with
know.
the
I was
cancel
just
culture.
watching.
I do think it's turning.
I was just watching one of the cables before
One of the
we started.
cables.
Yeah, no. Before
Caleb Yeller.
Did someone Morse code you?
before we started this, and there was somebody on who was saying, "Well, if Sharon Osbourne got fired, they should have fired Whoopi." It's like, no, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
It's like whose ox is being gored. I mean, this is the old thing about free speech that I believe in free speech as long as the person speaking agrees with me.
Right. Yep.
And that's not going to work. It's not free speech. And that's why I want to keep coming back to what the former president of the ACLU did. The guy who is a Jew who had relatives who were lost in the Holocaust, who were murdered, and he fought fiercely to allow the Nazis to march in Skokie.
Right.
And he found what they did appalling, disgusting, which it is.
Yep.
But he said, if we're to preserve free speech, we have to tolerate speech which is abhorrent.
Yeah.
And
That would not happen today.
it would never happen.
They would
Are you
not.
kidding?
They would not. go to
No,
bat.
it's
Not
gone.
at all.
And as a matter of fact, the ACLU's changed. And that was his reason for saying
they're
this.
almost like a political organization.
Well,
now,
it
it
is.
seems.
Yeah. Didn't Ricky Gervais just come out and say that his next stand-up he wants to try and get canceled?
We're going to get into
Oh, I love that.
You know what?
He is the best.
I know.
Actually, yeah, let's, we just
like,
got
I
to say.
love that.
Can I say the interesting thing about what Ricky Gervais said is, I think that guarantees he's going to get a huge audience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, what is he going to say?
Right.
Is he
You're
going to
dying
like?
to
Is he
know.
going to overtop Dave Chappelle
Yeah.
in like offending people?
I think he's fascinating.
Yes, it's going. It's
you hear what he
brilliant.
said?
It's the best
Here's what he
PR
actually
that he
said.
could do for it.
He said, I'm going to try to get canceled by touching on taboo topics because what he sees is people mistaking the subject matter of a joke with the target of the joke. He says, if I say something offensive, who am I lampooning? If I use someone who is mentally disabled in a joke, am I lampooning the mentally disabled person and asking you to make fun of him? Not necessarily. Maybe
Right.
I'm lampooning PC culture. Maybe
Right.
I'm lampooning
Yeah.
something else. He says, don't mistake the target of the joke with the subject matter of the joke. And I think that's interesting. He's a
I can't
fascinating
wait
guy.
That's gonna work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck getting that nuance across, Ricky.
I can't
in
wait
this
for
day and
the
age, but he's
stand-up,
going for
though.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about a subject that probably everybody has dealt with at some point in their life, which is I sent a text or tweeted somebody and it's like, oh my God, it's the wrong person.
Yep.
This Brian Flores story is crazy.
Insane. So Brian Flores was the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Good coach, back-to-back winning seasons, first time since 2003. Don't know why he was fired, but he was fired. So he's going to interview for the New York Giants job. Well, Brian Flores says he gets a text from Bill Belichick, his former boss. And Bill Belichick is congratulating him on getting the job. Like, hey, I heard the Giants like you.
One problem.
Brian Flores is all excited. The only problem is, Derek, Bill Belichick texts the wrong person. And he thought he was texting a guy by
Another
the name
Brian.
of Brian Dable, who he also used to work with, who was actually the man hired by the New York Giants.
But
So
didn't-
now,
and the
but
timing
did-
was
but
a
here's what's
giveaway.
interesting.
But-
when Belichick did this, wasn't he saying that you have the job?
Right, so that's why it's interesting. So there's something called the Rooney Rule in the NFL, and when dealing with a head coaching position, the Rooney Rule states that teams have to interview a minority candidate in person. So
They don't have to hire them, but they
right,
have to
interview
interview
them.
them.
and
it
it's
has
gotta
to be
in
it has to be
person.
fair.
Has to be a fair
So it's
process.
not like, okay,
Right.
we've already picked somebody,
Right.
but we'll bring somebody in and
Right.
pretend.
So
Yeah.
here, I wrote down the dates here. So January 24th, Brian Flores says he gets a text from the Giants GM setting up an interview for 3 days later on the 27th. That's the same day that Flores says he gets the text from Belichick saying, hey, congrats on getting the job. So Flores is saying, hey, I never had a legitimate shot at getting this job. So I go 3 days later and I sit down for the sham of an interview and I was humiliated by it.
Because he thought he had the job.
Well, no, he knew at
No,
this
no, no,
point.
no, no.
He had
No,
not been
he knew he
interviewed,
did.
Harvey.
He knew at this
Yeah.
point that Bill
He knew he
Belichick texted the
wasn't
wrong
getting it,
person. And
Harvey,
yes.
Bill Belichick meant to text this to Brian
Oh, no,
Daboll,
I know
who
that,
got
but
hired.
I know that, but I didn't know that when he did the interview, he was already aware.
Right.
Yes.
because
Yes.
the Belichick
But wait a minute,
text came before he even got an interview.
Hold on. Why did he do the interview and go through the sham then?
Well, he
I
says the
mean-
Giants had told him he had a legitimate shot at
I
getting
understand
the job.
that, but what I'm saying is, do you understand my confusion?
Yes.
Totally.
I understand your
If
Belichick could
if
have
he
been wrong.
knew,
Well,
if
the
cat,
NFL's going to use that in their case.
if the cat was out of the bag and he really knew it,
Right.
why would he go to
because
that?
the cat wasn't out of the bag. The information came from Bill Belichick, who heard from someone
Right.
that Daboll got the job.
no, I
but
understand
he might think Belichick. He might think Belichick got it wrong. I'm going to go do the interview
Right.
because Bill might be wrong.
Right. What if Belichick's a Patriots head coach? What if he doesn't
but
actually
Harvey,
know?
But when he didn't get hired, his thought is, "Oh, this was baked
Yep.
already.
Right.
I had a good, perfectly
how
good
did he
interview,
know?
and I
How
didn't
did he
get
know?
hired."
How did he know Belichick was texted the wrong person?
Because Belichick said so in his
Right.
follow-up
It's
text.
so
he said,
embarrassing, Harvey.
Belichick said, "Oh no, I
Right.
screwed this up.
Sorry.
Sorry."
Flores has to, and in the lawsuit, and I
They're
would
both
love-
named Brian.
Yeah,
You
I
know
would
this.
love to know how Belichick feels about this.
Can you help me on this?
Yeah.
Does Bill Belichick? Would he be in a position to know this?
Yeah.
Apparently
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Here's why.
Because the Giants know
would,
that.
would everybody know that he would
Yes.
be in a position?
Here, I'll tell you
Then
why.
Then why did
they
he
all
not
worked
know?
they all worked for Belichick. The new Giants GM worked for Belichick.
Okay.
They all worked for Belichick, so they all have this connection.
But
It's very
why would he
incestuous.
think Belichick was mistaken and going into?
I mean, I don't know.
Just
Harvey. There's
hoping.
like 30.
But Harvey, what he did was he hoped Belichick
Right,
was
there's only
mistaken.
32
because
of
the
those
Giants
jobs.
GM,
Okay, fair
yes,
enough. Okay.
told Bill something, and he's like, "I hope
the
Bill's wrong.
most
I'm going to go
embarrassing
interview."
part about it is, and he included the text message, a screen grab of the text with Belichick, when Flores has to say to Belichick, "Hey, Bill, you know you're talking to Brian Flores,
Jeez.
right? It's so
Can you
embarrassing.
imagine this?
It's humiliating."
And
So
this
embarrassing.
is, we read a lot of lawsuits. This one is juicy, and the text message
Oh.
is front loaded. It's the first line of
Right.
the lawsuit. He puts the text message.
Right.
What do you think ethically doing that to Belichick, who's his friend, and sent him a personal text message, and now it's front lined in a lawsuit?
It's
What do you-
the- it's
Well, he
in
didn't
bold.
mean
We
to
sort of
talked
first
about
thing.
it.
He didn't mean to send him the personal text message.
Yeah, I mean, I
do you
think
have to
that's.
ask Bill, like, "Hey, can I use this in my lawsuit?"
Well, has Bill responded
No,
at all?
I haven't heard
no,
anything from
not
Bill.
yet. The NFL has. The
And
NFL
he hasn't
says
done anything wrong. Bill didn't do anything wrong.
Well, hold on,
except
but-
for mistexting him.
But the Bill
Yeah.
Belichick is not only the star witness, he's the Perry Mason moment in this trial if it happens. Because if Bill Belichick has to testify or get deposed and says, "Here's how I knew that there was already a decision,"
he will have to be
He's gonna
right.
have to
I
be.
The text
understand that.
messages are sort of
the
ambiguous.
NFL's in trouble.
Oh, this rocked the league.
No. The NFL's in huge trouble if Bill Belichick really did know that this was a sham.
Right.
Now, let me give you a complicating factor.
Well, and by the way, I'm not suggesting
Right.
Bill knew it was a sham.
Right.
I'm just saying because Bill wasn't the one picking.
yes.
But,
Right.
but if he knew and he can say, "Yeah, I knew,"
But this has launched a whole conversation now about the Rooney Rule. Look, there's only one black head coach, and the league is something like 65, 70% black men. So
It's just Mike Tomlin,
Mike
right?
Tomlin,
Yeah.
one out of 32. So obviously something's wrong here. But now it has kicked off a conversation about the Rooney Rule. Should the Giants, if they want to hire this guy Brian Dable, should they just be able to hire the guy they want?
Now, remember, this lawsuit's going to be very complicated, and it is just a complaint. These are
Yeah.
just allegations, because another complicated thing for Brian Flores is he may not have been the only minority candidate on the
He wa-
docket.
le-
If-
le- yeah, there
the
was
Rooney
two other
Rule
guys
requires
that I
you
know
to
of.
interview a minority candidate, but doesn't require you to interview Brian Flores. If they
Right.
had checked
Right.
that box,
So
is
wait a
the
minute.
sham as big?
So wait a minute. So you're saying that the NFL is going to say, no, we actually used that guy for the minority candidate. This guy we didn't view as the minority candidate, we just viewed as a candidate.
I'm saying they sort of have to.
Hard argument to make.
They got to thread
That
that
is
needle,
a
Harvey.
hard argument to make.
Wait, so who's the head coach now?
Brian Daboll.
It is?
Bill Belichick was right.
For right now.
I'm not the only story here.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one with a story to
You're
tell.
speaking up for decades of this going on
This
and
is
hopefully stopping it from happening.
This is, there are people who have come before me, and I know there are others who have similar stories, and it's hard to speak out. It is, you're giving up, you're making some sacrifices, but this is bigger than football. This is bigger than coaching.
I have no idea if Simon Cowell ever listens to us on this podcast, but Simon, please, why would you do this? Simon and I have something in common. Shattered bones.
Yep. And from the same cause.
Exactly. So look, back in the day, as in a couple of years ago, I shattered my hip on an e-bike. Simon broke 3 bones in his back, fractured from an e-bike. And, it's funny because I called Simon, I don't know, 6 months later when we were both recovered, and I saw that he was riding his bike again. And I said, Simon, fine, you got to wear a helmet. He said, well, I didn't break my head. I broke my back. And I said, I know, but Simon, if you fall on your head, so
those bones break too.
Yeah.
I sent him a helmet.
And Howie Mandel sent him an e-bike, he told us.
Right, right. And he did. But he never wore it. And sure enough, less than a week ago, Simon is e-biking again in London without a helmet. And it happens again. He makes a sharp turn, and the road is slick, and he falls, and he breaks his arm.
You know why the road's slick? Because you're in London, which is always gray. It's like, why would you ride an e-bike around quickly in the streets of London, which are busy?
And also,
did he have the helmet on?
No.
He did not have the helmet on, and he had a helmet on the bike that was sitting there that he was not wearing. And I realized he didn't hit his head again. But how much is he tempting fate here?
Well, he knows how to fall, apparently.
Yes.
Like, he avoids
But hold on, he doesn't.
Well, you know how to fall. Okay, you broke your back one time, you broke your arm another time. I don't know that that's what,
He has to be done with e-bikes now. Yes.
I don't know.
He has to
Simon is
be.
so headstrong.
I don't think so. Harvey, you really like jet ski. Would you give it up? It happened on an
He
e-bike,
didn't.
which is
Harvey gave
easier
up
to
the
give
bike.
up.
No, but I gave
than
up
a jet
bicycling.
ski.
Right.
Yes, because you didn't love cycling as
No,
much
I
as jet
didn't.
ski.
No, but you went a lot.
What if
You
it
were
happened
going
on
a
a
lot.
jet ski? Would you have given up jet ski? That's what I'm asking is maybe he loves biking like you love jet skiing. You gave up something that was
No,
like
I
you had
understand
tried.
that. But the difference is I didn't hurt myself on a jet ski, nor have I.
But
But I hurt myself on a bike.
I'm saying if you did.
Well, no. But that's not the point. E-bikes.
Yes,
No,
he might love
I'll,
it.
You're saying Simon
I'll
loves
tell you
biking.
why not.
Thank you, Mike.
Jet skis are not inherently dangerous.
Oh,
They're not.
Harvey.
Oh, my
If
God.
you operate them,
Not as good as you are, right?
Is a bike inherently
Have you seen the
dangerous?
flying
Yes,
squirrel?
I think an
Is a
e-bike.
bike more inherently
I'll tell you
dangerous?
why an e-bike is, especially if you're biking in a populated area. Because honestly, after my e-bike accident, when I got better, I bicycled again on a regular bike, and then I started seeing people that were coming in my lane trying to pass people, and I thought it's going to happen again, and I just gave it up. But I do think listen,
You think it's
when
inherently dangerous,
when I
right?
lived in Miami, I know this sounds crazy. I got hit by 4 cars when I was bicycling.
I'm actually not surprised.
No, because
The last 3 were targeting you. I
no,
hate to tell
I
you.
used to bike a
That's the most real
bicycle
story.
from Coral Gables into the Grove, and what happens is you go in this residential area, and people would be backing their cars out of their driveway, and they don't see you on the bike path, and they hit you.
But you
and
saw them
happened
I mean,
backing
someone
up.
who's a
and
little
over.
higher profile, but to be
Yeah.
fair.
Like you saw the
waiting for
cars
it.
backing up.
I think bicycling is inherently more dangerous, much more so than jet skiing. It is.
But why
That's a
doesn't he
fair point.
just ride a regular bike if he wants to bike
Oh,
so
they're
bad?
not nearly as
They're
fun, right? This
fun
is
if
like
you go,
riding a
like,
pseudo
downhill.
motorcycle. This guy
Like a
obviously
motorcycle.
loves a need for speed. It's like,
A need for
Okay.
speed.
Okay. I really like this. I think Steve Kornacki is a really interesting guy. He's really an interesting guy. He's become kind of a cult-like figure on, in polling after the 2020 election because it was so interesting to watch him. And he's really good. And then he started doing this on football.
Yeah.
And I thought, come on, why are they doing that? It's hokey. But I watched him do it.
It's
He
good.
was really good.
there's an art to it. He's
He's
really good at it.
really
Yeah.
good. So we got him at LAX. He's in town, I'm guessing, for the Super Bowl because he's doing it again for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we asked him a question about something he posted. This is really interesting.
You just posted a poll saying that 70% of Americans think we should accept that COVID's here to stay and we should get on with our lives.
Right.
Where do you stand on that issue?
I think that topic has been getting a lot of attention lately. We hadn't been talking about it until recently. The number was, I thought, fairly high. But I think if you look closely in the poll, too, getting back to normal means different things to different people.
Right.
So I don't think there's a lot of agreement on what exactly that would look like. So I think there's a lot of agreement on let's get there, but what there looks like, I still think there's a lot of debate over that.
So he's talking about
a Monmouth
A
poll.
poll.
right, and the poll. Help me out here. The poll
Do
was
you think COVID is here to stay? and
no,
that we-
it's
Here.
normal.
No, do you want to get back to normal?
Do you want to get back to normal?
Right.
70% of the people said yes. About 30% said no.
Yep.
I think 28 said no.
Yep.
So
The devil's in the details of what that means.
and what normal means is everything, right?
yeah, it's changed also. The new normal. That's the expression comes from, right?
It
Yeah.
depends on where you're living. I know people live in Florida. They say that we've been living normal for a year now.
Does normal
It is.
mean 2019 pre-COVID? Does normal mean?
I think normal means
To me, it
something
does.
different for different
Really?
people. I think there are people who are now so scared that I don't know how you get it. You know, do you know what agoraphobia is when you're afraid to go
Yeah.
out of your house? I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have become agoraphobic as a result of the pandemic, where they were afraid to go out. They felt cocooned. They felt safe.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, can I go out? They said I could, and now all of a sudden they said no because this new variant came. I think there are a lot of people whose new normal is I've got to stay cocooned.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you have slight version of this tendency of fear of outdoors, it's only been exacerbated over the last 2 years, and it could develop into a true
I'll tell you what,
phobia.
though. I went to a UFC fight last week and a weekend before. The building's full, and
No, but
it seems normal in a lot of ways.
Right, because normal is different for different people.
Right.
Yes.
And there are people who don't want to wear masks now.
Right.
There are people who will wear masks no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, at my gym now, they have an outside area, a big outside area,
Right.
and I pretty much am in the outside area.
Right.
And I've been wearing my mask. Almost no one outside wears it. You don't have to.
Right.
And I'm just doing it because, I just am. But I'm going to eventually take it off. But I realized everybody is viewing this differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. And there's so much confusion out there. People don't know who the leader to follow.
Right.
In the beginning of this, it felt very coherent. It was like, Fauci is our guy. We're going to follow his lead on all this stuff. But his reputation has been battered over the past 2 years. A lot of people don't trust him anymore. And what are we going to do? We have to do something.
Right.
We
You
have
know what's
to
interesting? If you look
emerge.
at that poll along party lines, like it's like, I think it's almost like
Yeah.
90% Republican, a lot of independents, far less Democrats. Interesting
Yeah.
how it breaks down.
Wow, it's interesting that normal is defined by your party now. Ugh.
It's
It
strange,
really
right?
is.
I mean,
It's
this should be an
crazy.
objective metric, and it's been politicized.
It's crazy.
Strange.
Okay,
is.
one more
It's all
thing.
across the
One
board.
more thing. So the Michael Jackson play just opened on Broadway, and his kids
Oh,
showed
wow.
up, which was really great. I mean,
Yeah.
you see his kids all grown up, and they look great,
crazy.
and
It's wild.
supporting him.
They're all adults
did that
now.
happen?
It's so weird.
Blanket is an adult.
Right. When did that happen?
It happens
That's
to everybody.
time.
How did that happen?
I used to be 20.
I know. That scares me.
We don't accept that, Harvey.
No.
So look, this is chronicling his dangerous tour, and there is some criticism of this because they do not get into the allegations of child molestation, which was going on right around the same time with Jordan Chandler. Remember, Michael Jackson settled that case for a reported $23 million. I had heard it was 20 when I was covering it for CBS in LA. But they say that it was wrong not to show a complete picture. How do you feel about that?
I don't think a piece of art has to show
No, everything.
but you're also allowed to critique it when it misses some huge aspects of his life. His family is there, so you start to think this is a whitewashed version
Right.
of Michael
The
Jackson.
reality is, if
it's
you
okay
want
if you
them
want to
to be-
watch that.
Right.
But that's not.
People had this criticism of the MJ documentary, remember?
Yeah.
The Last Dance. Because they had access to Michael Jordan,
Right.
a lot of people said, well, you're not getting
Right.
the real story about
Right.
Michael Jordan. They can have this
Right,
feeling about the MJ
but if they
the
wanted to work
show.
with Michael, and in this case, if they want to work with Michael Jackson's family, you have to make some concessions. That's just the reality of
That's
being
the
in
balance,
this business. I mean,
right?
let's be honest.
And it's
Access
about-
versus,
Right, right.
true documentary form.
Yeah,
And it's
but
about the tour
this is
itself.
this is exactly
Like, that's what it is. It's about the
Exactly.
tour.
So you're okay with it, is what
no,
you're saying?
I think it's complicated, but it's like this was not a play meant to chronicle Michael Jackson's life.
Right.
It was a specific tour.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so if you were doing his life, that's a whole
Then
different thing
you'd
than saying
have
I'm
to
going to
judge that.
isolate a tour. I mean, like
Now, it's a glaring omission, though. The timing
so
is when this was going on.
Let me just give you a hypothetical. Suppose instead of doing the Dangerous tour, they did the This Is It tour, which is the tour that he never had because he was rehearsing it when he died. And they wanted to chronicle how that happened. And there was a lot there.
Yes.
If you did that.
And there's no Conrad Murray character?
No. Well, I'm saying there is a Conrad Murray character.
Okay.
But do you get into the molestation allegations if you did it that way?
I think it's more defensible not to.
Okay,
At that stage of his life, the bigger story is the propofol.
Okay, but then but it's not then a documentary on his life, so distinguish the This Is It tour doing a musical from a Dangerous tour.
To me, the timing of the Dangerous tour, if you omit what was going on around the Dangerous tour, you've omitted it, and I'm allowed to point out that you've omitted it. Now, if you're doing the This Is It tour when Jordy Chandler was a distant memory, you shouldn't leave out Conrad Murray. If they did the This Is It tour and said, hey, look at the cool dancing, but didn't talk at all about the propofol, I'd be like, well, they're missing something. They clearly wanted to avoid this topic, and I'm seeing a whitewashed version of history. That's why I feel that way. Now, as a piece of art, you can choose to do whatever you want. It's not journalism. This is a Broadway show.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it, but I think it's also fair to point it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to point out.
Yeah.
I just think it's...
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on this one because I could see them. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to do a musical, and then in the middle of the musical, they're going to do, and this
sort
is,
of
I mean,
fair enough.
Yeah,
you can't really put it into a song.
I don't know how they would fit that in.
Fair enough.
Okay. You can listen to our podcast anywhere you get podcasts, right?
Yeah, Spotify, Apple, watch us on YouTube.
And we'll see you Friday, folks.
See you guys later.
Bye.